This is ACOFAE. Laura Marie and Jessica Marie proudly present A Court of Fandoms and Exploration, a podcast. Fair warning, everything the hosts say is explicit, full of spoilers and adult content and shall not be used against them. They have opinions. Let's try not to drag anyone for expressing themselves and just have fun for an hour. We all deserve it.
This episode contains spoilers from Shield of Sparrows with mentions of the Ragpicker King, Long Live Evil, and Avatar. For full list, please see show notes.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to A Court of Fandoms and Exploration, your weekly deep dive into the fantasy, literature, and fandoms that we love. I'm Laura Marie.
And I'm Jessica Marie.
And today we are discussing Shield of Sparrows by Devney Perry.
Which we received a physical copy as an ARC from Red Tower. So thank you so much. But there's a lot of excitement. I mean, when this book is coming out, the book is already out. We received this as an ARC. This episode is going to be coming out at the end of May. So you may or may not have seen this book across your socials, or at least the cover. And on top of that, learn to find out that prior to its release, it already had the rights purchased by Amazon MGM, the rights to be made into a film. So we are already in conversations. It's not necessarily guaranteed. If you've been following the podcast, you might know some ins and outs of what it means to have the rights of the book. But Amazon currently does have the rights to this one for a screen adaptation.
Which is very interesting. There is a lot going on in this book. There is a lot that would have to translate well, and we will have to see how that shakes out. I want to point out, just for the listeners, that the arcs that Jess and I got are numbered, and that's cool as hell. They're not all numbers. And
I don't think I've ever seen arcs in general be numbered, too. I don't know. It was the first time that we're like, oh, that's really fucking cool.
It's really nice. I really enjoyed that. This is a really nice physical copy. So we'd like to thank everybody for that. Of course, that has no impact on what we're going to say. And what we're going to say is, for me, Laura Marie, the ending of this book, I was speechless. I was shocked. I was intrigued. I was gagged. I was all of the things. Jess, what about you?
Yeah, I think, well, you know what? I think I went into this with low expectations, honestly. I wasn't sure. I feel like you and I have had conversations. Sometimes, like, you can enjoy a book, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's hitting the way you hope for a book to hit. So I think I kind of went into reading that with this. And even when I read the first chapter, I immediately sent you a voice note and I said, oh, by the way, X, Y, and Z is going to happen. And I don't know if I'm right, but this is where it's going. I mean, I was maybe on, I don't know, the 5th page. And when I sent you that, and all you said was, yep. So I was already like, okay, this is going to be kind of, we're going in with it knowing everything. Did not, was wrong, was only right about 1.5 things. And I wasn't trying to guess. I just thought I knew what was going to happen. And then I kept getting proven wrong, which was really exciting.
It was exciting. This is me speaking. The middle of this book was like kind of a slog for me. You know how I feel about them training montages. And it was just, there was a big chunk of that in this first book, which is interesting because, like, in this first book, there's a lot of travel too, which makes me think that the next book in this series, which I do not think is confirmed, but I mean, obviously, that the next book in this series will have like some hard hitting shit going down because we got all of the foundational stuff here. And so much of it, Jessica Marie, in the first 5 chapters.
I mean, would you say, and you're the one you've read this book twice. I've read this once. Would you say it follows a pattern? Because if I had my highlighter out, I would have felt like I was highlighting everything in the first. We're getting lore. We're getting like some history of our land that we're in. We're getting background, loose introductory background on some of the characters that we're meeting and kind of the roles that each of these characters are currently playing in the story so far.
It follows our pattern. By that, I mean everything. Everything is laid out in the first 5 chapters. Going through a reread, it is really good. My favorite part in this book, we will discuss a little bit later. That is not in the first 5 chapters, but that is just like an exclamation point at the like plot that is going on, and that is a very interesting thing to keep in mind when we get to the end of the book. All of it. It is very fun. I'm going to say this. This is a very, very fun book to reread. One, because I did this through audio, which I thought was really wonderful, just with dates and times and things. But also because I could crank that speed up, and I was just really loving this because when the plot kicks in, especially in the like last 70% of the book, we are just like, boom, boom, reveal, 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 attack, 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 death. It's great.
Well, I'm so glad that you said that because there was a point, and it was the last 50 pages, where I was just, I read this so quickly in a matter of a couple days, and at the same time, I didn't want it to end. But then I was imagining, is this how people read when they're traditional readers? When they go, oh, I finished Kingdom of Ash in like 12 hours. I'm like, did you read the words? How did you read that fast? How did you comprehend that fast? And I just felt like I couldn't finish it fast enough because it was. So when you were telling me, oh, I sped it up once I knew what was happening, because that speed is how everything is also happening on page.
Yes. Oh, excellent. I love time frames. Oh my God. I'm so glad you bring this up. Jessica Marie, this whole thing takes place in the span of 3 months. That's it.
And you have your mile markers, especially when it's not like, oh, where did the time go? It's kind of repeated throughout the whole thing. And then you have your 2 month, once we get to 2 months, I'll see you in, you have one more month. And we know when we're in seasons. So we know when this starts, really in the first 5 chapters, that we're supposed to be having a wedding at the autumn equinox. But we meet some characters, we're about to get into that. And those characters say, no. They're like, oh, we're rushing things. We're 3 months early. And then where we get into different mile markers throughout the book, you're like, okay, you have King Ramsay of Tura. He's saying, okay, person. And again, we'll get into it. You have a month. You have a month left. Then you're mine, So, and then it's good. You love a timeline. You get a couple days. You even with the ladies' maids, you have them saying, you said you were going to be here in 3 days. It's been weeks. So we're constantly
do not get me started on the ladies' maids.
Dude, I didn't see that.
God. Unbelievable bullshit.
I was like, fuck all of them.
Especially because Odessa's like, maybe we'll be friends. And then they're just like,
the whole time. Oh, and she really. Oh.
All right. Jess, who are these people?
Okay. Well, some key people. We have Odessa. So Odessa is our older sister. She is the princess of Quintus, but she also has a little sister, her little sister, May. But it's her little sister who is promised to Tura. She is going to be who's marrying the Prince of Tura, and that is how the book is being set up. We also have our Gold King, who is the King of Quintus. His first wife died, so that's Odessa's mother, and he remarried Margot. Margot is Odessa's sister's mother. Then we also have Xavier, who we know him as the prince of Tura, and we have the Guardian. The Guardian is kind of like the protector of Tura, of the people, of Savior. We have Ramsey, who is, I'll say this in quotes, Xavier's father. But the Guardian's name, this is also important, is named Ransom. So that'll help with, as we go through with this. We have ladies' maids who are Brielle and Jocelyn.
Bitches.
They're awful, awful. We have Banner, who Odessa in chapter 1, she is not only promised to Banner. Banner is the, captain general of Quintus's guard and for her father, and he is engaged to Odessa. But Odessa, despite her being the eldest, she is not the one who has been groomed for the throne. She is not the one who has been promised or cared for. She's the clumsy one, and nobody has really given her attention or truth or really paid any mind to her. So usually we're used to having the concept of the heir and the spare, but it's in reverse because it's the heir essentially to help bridge these kingdoms of Tura and Quintus is Odessa's little sister, and Odessa's kind of left out in the dust for everything. So I think those are some of our key. We have a lot. Here's the thing. There's a lot of names, and they all wind up being significant who we have names for.
Yeah, and we'll get into that. But the meat of this story is pretty good. So let's dive into that. Odessa does off of this cliff. Hey, she's real comfortable in the air. Isn't that crazy? She's real comfortable, diving off this cliff, right? She loves it. She loves the weightlessness of the water. It's very free. No. Okay. We'll get there. It's all good. It's all fun.
There is a part where it felt like a very Bella moment where she could just dive off that cliff.
Go, bitch. Go see your man. But I really appreciate this because we have kind of Odessa's internal monologue of I've got to go do this and nobody cares about me. I'll sneak into the palace. And then we learn a lot about her very quickly. Very quickly. We learn that she does not have a relationship with the priests because their magic hurts her and it makes her very uncomfortable. We learn that there's a monster threat that is looming on the horizon. We learn that Odessa has to dye her hair from red to brown. And that is at the insistence of her stepmother. We learn all of that just boom, 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 as Odessa sneaks in from the water where she went swimming back into the castle so that she can meet these Turan warriors who are slaying these eels in the throne room for May's engagement kind of meeting situation. It's a lot. It's a lot right away. And you also have to be okay, because the marketing is fear the monsters that we make, right? Journey to a kingdom where myths hunt, legends kill, and survival demands transformation. Not an easy thing to say. So, knowing all of that, you have to think okay, eels, monstrous. That's crazy. All right, eels, that's wild. We're going to kill 7 of them, and then we're immediately thrust into the lore of the land. Jess, do you have info on our god situation?
I don't. I did not take any notes for that.
No, you do not need to.
No,
you do not
I did not
need to.
take notes. I highlighted it in my audio, and then I was I'll get back to it, and I didn't, honestly.
Well, again, that is why a reread is so fun, because there's 6 children and 2 parents, and the parents created humans and the children created monsters because fuck them. Fuck the humans who took more love from our parents. If that isn't a theme, then I don't know what is.
Well, it's consistent. You see it constantly. And especially with Odessa, that is her questioning her self-worth the entire book. And that it goes from even when there's a situation, and again, we'll get into it, where she sees Xavier and she goes to the room. She's I'm not even upset that he picked this person. I'm more upset that why didn't he pick me? It could have been any person, but it's like another situation that she's reminded of, and I'm not the first choice again.
She's the Guardian's first choice, and that is what is important. Also, I want to mention that Margot, her stepmother, forces her to wear gray. So you're like, okay, she's not like other girls, because why would they make her do this? Right? Like it's weird.
And the significance of the colors, because then they were like, oh, what do you mean you only have gray? And Odessa even says to her stepmother, like, bitch, this is all you allow me to wear. And the stepmother doesn't want that accountability. She goes, oh, we must have packed all your blue stuff away, because blue is supposed to signify like wealth and good fortune and good luck. But they've never allowed her to wear any color besides gray. And Odessa even says, it's like, so I can be like the stone of this palace, so easy to blend in. And that's also something that Margot, her stepmother, is already threatened about, because Odessa's mother died and Margot was Odessa's mother's lady in waiting.
Yep. Exactly. All right, let's talk about the Voster priests very quickly. Bald, powerful, black, green eyes, green nails that are like long and creepy looking. They control like fluid magic. Gross. And the high priest can like levitate and stuff. Also cool. They are in charge of the blood oaths. So this is important. This is why I say like everything is right here in these first 5 chapters. Because our king later is like, yo, I'm about breaking all the blood oaths, right? And you're like, huh, how could you, why? Then, all right, we'll get there. But it all makes sense. So we have
on the reread.
On the reread, yeah. So the Voster priest is here. He's giving her Odessa a crown of water, whatever. We're in the throne room. Our warriors come in. They're very like blasé about everything. Xavier, the prince, doesn't speak. The Guardian comes in, and it's like, whoa, buddy, he's our main character. The way that it's written, it's like, oh, it's him. Obviously.
100%. I mean, like, as the reader, there's no way you're not captivated by his presence on page. On page, you're captivated. And, you know, this kind of reminds me of Long Live Evil, where I was like, you know what? Maybe I'm just going back, there's nothing wrong with liking the bodyguard, with liking the security, like the bodyguard trope. Maybe I am stuck in my ways. And then I was like, nope, I still have growth. And I felt that way then. And I felt that way with this one. I was like, oh, good. I trusted my gut on that one.
And let's look at the details here, too, because we're like, no, we're going to get married tonight because of the bride price. We're throwing in a little religion here. Like we have the chain of 7, all of that.
Well, and then it's the bride prize is because basically that the Turins have killed 7 beings, 7 monsters. And part of the lore, there's a lot of lore going on, but basically, Quintus's youngest daughter, May, she was going to go to the Turins. And the Turins said, well, actually, we killed these 7 beasts. And that means we're going to kind of counter all of these things and find loopholes in what you thought was going to happen. And we're going to claim the bride prize, which is kind of, now it's our choice. Now we are actually going to choose Odessa. And part of that choice is because they've heard that she's weak. They heard that she's not strong. She's not the favorable sister. But mostly because they know the Gold King of Quintus is manipulative. He's always planning. He's always his hands are always working something through. And they ultimately knew that May was being trained to spy. So, and May knew that. Everybody knew this, apparently. World's worst kept secret, except Odessa didn't know. So she's kind of thrown out to the wolves, and which is funny because that winds up being her last name now that I say that. She was like, wait, what? I'm the one who's bartered? Because they don't think much of her from a bigger picture, or so she thinks. Meanwhile, the Guardian was captivated by her immediately when he saw her jump across the cliff. And now everybody thinks Odessa is in on it. Odessa knew. She must have seen somebody. She must have spoken to somebody. She must have engaged with somebody. Everybody thinks that Odessa was here to ruin her family's plans.
Except her dad. Her dad is like, yo, did you do this? And she's like, no. And he's like, all right, I believe you. That's enough of all of it. It's all done now. And I respect that he did that. He was like, all right, enough.
It took him a second to get there.
Plans.
But he planned for it the whole time. Because he even like unwinds everything. And he was like, so we planned for like, we had a plan A through Z. You were absolutely plan Z, but we're going with it.
Yep, we're going with it. And what does she have to do? She must find a way into the secret capital of Turin, Alessandra. And that has to be done before the autumnal equinox. That word is hard for me to say. Before then, and it's like fucking urgent, right? The ships are disappearing was bullshit, and it was all just a ruse to get them over here. And he thought like, oh, maybe he would take May now, and I could get a jump start on this, or maybe I just pay him gold. But like, this is the worst case scenario. So like, look, you're going over there, spy the fuck out of everything, try to kill the Guardian, figure out what his powers are. Tell your ladies' maids, send them home so that they can report on all of this. This has to be done before winter because I will lose my chance before then. We have got to do all of this before the Crux migration. Jess, what is the Crux migration?
So the Crux migration happens, I think it's like every like between 20 and 40 years. I don't know why 40 is sticking out in my head. But it's this migration of cruxes. We'll get to that in the end. Of them just kind of tearing up the villages, tearing up the provinces, the counties, and not just like, oh, we're gonna make a mess of the property. It's a huge massacre that these monster beasts invoke on the people. People try to run, people try to hide. That's not the case. They are found. Families are just gone in an instant. And so everybody is kind of on edge in all of the provinces because they're like, okay, it's upon us. Like the earliest it can start is the spring. So we need to get our soldiers together, our armies, our forces, because it's going to be a point where it's going to be us, as in all of the territories, against the Crux migration. And we need to fight en masse.
Yeah. And the Crux migration is this looming threat that is behind all of them. And they are like, all right, when the scouts come, it's like a few days before the rest of them come. It's like, holy shit, we have got to be prepared. Meanwhile, let's infight with everybody first. That's so fucking smart, right? Let's fight with each other first instead of preparing for the big. Okay.
Meanwhile, exactly. That's the part where you're like, us as people who are thinking of like bigger picture. Why are we trying to, what, wouldn't you want to like gather bigger picture
after this.
Let's survive this first, and then we can get back to our bullshit.
Yep.
But what do we know?
What do we know? We do know that the king is trying to treaties can be broken without the death of the kings because of the blood oaths, and the Vostar priests are interwoven, and people can't attack the king and the king can't attack all of this stuff, and you can't break treaties and invade without death happening. But our king here says, yes, I can. I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that. How is he going to do that? I don't know, but he really wants to get into the secret fucking capital. But that is chapter 5. That is chapter 5. So that is essentially like the bare bones of the entire plot, because let's say like, there are like, here's the thing that kind of bothers me about this book's pattern is like the really fun details are scattered after chapter 5 because one of them is in chapter 6, which is, I'm going to wear my bird necklace that I put on, and it's hot on my skin.
I thought that too. Here's this random, like Laura loves to say, this won't be important. Why do you? I found this necklace when I was playing dress up. I don't know what it is, but I like to, she added her own story to it. I like to think that it was my mom's, and it brings me a little bit closer to her, to me. But it's weird because every time I wear it, I feel it warms up around me, and okay, you thought that was normal? You thought any of this was normal?
Well, she doesn't tell anybody that the Vostra magic hurts her, so I guess she must. She must.
And it tingles like spiders.
Yeah. Here's another little detail that is just like, if it would have been in chapter 5, it would have been just like, but no, that's just a me thing. They'll have libraries in Turin, right? I don't need to take my books. There's books and libraries in Turin, right? Okay. But we're at the wedding. And the wedding is really interesting, especially if you're doing a reread and because you know the details of what is going on here. Let's all remember that Xavier doesn't speak. So all of the speaking that is done in the wedding is done by who, Jessica Marie?
Done by the Guardian Ransom.
Done by the Guardian Ransom. And the blood that is used to seal the deal that is in Xavier's hand is not visible to Odessa, because what color do we think that would be?
You would think it would be normal blood color, but it's not. It is a dark, dark, dark green.
It's a dark green. Xavier Wolf makes this vow is the words that the Guardian said at the marriage ceremony, which is fine because his full name, that checks out.
Because the Guardian's full name is Xavier Ransom Wolf.
Crown Prince. Crown Prince. Crown Prince. We love that. A part of the blood oath ceremony is that husband and wife cannot kill each other. You physically can't. So that is just part of it. That's interwoven in here.
If they kill each other, the other dies. So it also is you lose that. I don't even know if it's a will. I thought it was just how in the curse for ACOTAR, it was if you die, I die together. I thought it was until she goes to stab him in anger. And I didn't know at first. I was is that a blockade, or was that her I can't do it, retreating herself?
It was she was physically it was she couldn't. It was fun. It's fun. Here's a fun detail, Jess. The next morning, because we're leaving at dawn when Odessa's on the docks, she really likes newspapers. Newspapers are so interesting and such a fun little part that won't play any part in later on in the story. These little details, these little world building details are very fun on a reread, but also very okay. There are 2 instances where I had an issue with the writing, and I will point them out. But this part where she's I like newspapers, I like the Pony Riders, I thought was a very interesting way of getting the news around the realm that isn't addressed in a lot of other fantasies. The Post, news at the tower. How does that get around? I thought that was very interesting.
And how it'll take how many ever weeks time. So they just drop and go, kind of constantly moving.
Now, though, Jessica Marie, we have started our travel, and we travel from here on out, more or less. And this travel is on a boat. And we are on a boat, and we are kind of realizing that Odessa's family is shitty. If we didn't already, we know now, because Odessa was hey, am I going to see my little brother? Are you going to bring him to the docks so I can see him? And her stepmother's yeah, bet. And she's where's my little brother? And she's oh my God, duh, he's sleeping. Whoa. Okay. All right.
The sister wanted to stab her because she was the one who got married off, which is also so crazy because, like, again, it goes to, like, how bad her family was. She's like, I wanted to be queen. And she's like, I didn't. You think I wanted this? I wasn't even you were trained for this your entire life. I have no preparation. I don't even want it. Take it.
Yep. I don't even want to take it. And here comes her dad with last minute pressure. Like, you must get into Alessandra before the migration. You must break the Shield of Sparrows. You must save us from the Crux. And she's like, what? Like, what? Fucking how? And he's like, bye. Oh, but he also does a little bit of guilt. Like, you know, I shouldn't have let Margot dye your hair. The red belongs to your mother. Pause. But the brown suits you. Bye. Fuck off.
They were all about just making comments and then not realizing that those comments were going to sit with her.
Yeah.
They gave not a single fuck about her.
Yep. Not at all. Just like her ladies' maids.
Which is, you know, why I really respect Ransom in many ways. But then he calls her out on it. He goes, you want to go back? What are you going back to?
Yeah,
they didn't give you they didn't give a shit about you. So you want to go back to the country why? Because that's comfortable?
Yep. Nope. We have Brielle, our lady's maid. She's up on deck. She's waving. Jocelyn's sobbing. Everybody's miserable. Blah, 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 blah. Fuck off, both of them. And, now we have, you know, in turn, we wear pants, not dresses. This is like, you know, you need to get used to this. Your maids are seasick. They kind of suck, like come out on deck and flirt with the Guardian, right? Like we like all of these kind of, close quarters flirtations with the Guardian. Cause she's like, I hate you. And it's this whole fun thing. They're on the boat for a long time. Time. Like 2 weeks, something.
Yeah, it's a couple weeks.
Yeah, it's a long time.
Which there must be no wind because if you look at the map, that is a short journey.
It's not. Yeah, it is not very far at all. All right. So besides all the flirting and there's like a little bit of training, all this stuff that's going on, there's a eel attack and Odessa falls overboard. And this is our like big moment, right? She's like in the water and she's swimming and the Guardian's on the boat and he's like throwing the harpoon out to her. Here's the thing though, and something that is interesting. The eel didn't attack her. The eel was underneath her.
She felt it brush her foot or something.
Yeah, but it didn't like attack her. So I am kind of in this working theory of she's got this connection to monsters.
So is that where you started developing that theory here?
Not at all. Not at all. No.
I thought you were like, and this is where I started to think.
On my reread, yes, but I didn't even think of that as a thought until Ransom was like, I think you're a monster magnet. I was like, oh. Anyway.
But like, yeah, because I feel like at this part, when it grazed her foot, I was like, oh, this is going to be it toying with its prey. That's how with what we know with what nature does in real life, that is very likely.
See, on the reread, because I mean, again, later this plays out, but Odessa's like, the monsters are beautiful. Like, you know, they're blue. Like, how interesting. Like, that's awesome. Like, do they have this? Like, I'm very curious. Like, wow, there's this, like, I think she says, like, dangerous beauty in the eels. And then, this is also where we are noticing that the blood of the eel that is on deck after the attack and Odessa's pulled up safely and the Guardian is like, you must listen to me. And she's like, no. Very tension.
There's so much tension. There's so much banter. There's so much quarreling. But I also like where her internal thoughts will also be like, shit, I don't know where that came out because she has always been so used to being a very obedient person. So now she's like, where I'm out of my comfort zone. Because I would have never said that. Why does he rile me up so much?
Why does he rile me up? Why do we have this chemistry? Oh, why could that possibly be? But we are alerted now to that there's something maybe wrong because the eels have green blood and their eyes are milky, and that's not great. And it is spreading. This is all things that we have heard. And the Guardian by this point has seen Odessa's hair as red and has now seen it as brown as well. So he knows what's going on. He's aware. And then there's the very like tense moment of like, I want a sword. And he's like, then pick it up. And she's like, it's really heavy. Which fair. I bet it is really heavy.
I can only imagine it. And then it was like, you could her countdown in her head. I just gotta do it for 10 more seconds. So I just gotta prove a point, which
she
fair.
does. Yeah, and she does. And the men agree to training, which is great. But boom, boom, here we are. We're back on land. And we have just things happening very quickly. We have lore being dropped. King Ramsay is recruiting a militia, but those people that go to the militia never come back. They don't answer their letters. You don't visit. It's weird. They go and they're just disappeared forever. We meet Tilia, who's a warrior who is pregnant. She's pregnant here, but she goes around and she is kind of Odessa's bodyguard for a significant portion of the book, which is kind of nice just to like have that. But my note here says fennec poison. This is our first little detail of the story that is dropped in and repeated. And this is the I guess, just lore drop of what fennec powder poison is, where it comes from, how it's made, what its use is. And this is repeated along with cave ginger a few times so that when the reveal comes a little bit later, it's like, oh, I am a little bit familiar with that. I've heard that before. Okay, because, and Jess and I were talking about this a little before we started, was that this book is fantasy, but it's monsters. So it kind of skews, for me, a little bit more adventure. And there's a little bit more adventure science in here than there is fantasy magic. So that's an interesting conversation to have as well. Okay. Jess, they're going to Elder and they're like in a caravan in the woods. Like, it's not a fantasy if you're not in a caravan in the woods going from town to town, right?
No, but we're learning things at these different towns that they're caravanning to. And there's different levels of trust in these towns. Because, if you're listening to this episode, you've probably read the book. Let's hope, because spoilers galore. We know that Xavier is Ransom's cousin, and they on the paternal side. So they are also like the spitting image of each other. And as we've learned historically it made me think of the Rag Picker King from Cassandra Clare, was that royals will have lookalikes because there are times where the royals are targeted. There might be a murder plot. So you switched out the lookalikes. So Xavier is Ransom's lookalike, and only select people in this trusted caravan, and I say select, there's like 3 who know Ransom's / the Guardian's true identity through all of this. And obviously Odessa is not one of them because she cannot be trusted, because bigger picture, the Turins know what Odessa's father's plot was. They knew that his daughters were being trained to kill the prince, to infiltrate and to find out where this city of Alisaria is, which is like the secret city / capital-esque of Turin or Tura.
It's really interesting the way that we go about learning the lore and kind of the geography of the world too, because we'll say it here. Odessa learns that maps are forbidden in Tura, and it is like so incredibly illegal to make one, and it puts everybody in danger. And here, spoiler, she does it anyway, but at least she burns it. I was like, hey, you did that right away. Good on you, but we'll get there.
She was smart how she was piecing things together. I thought, like making it look like sketches or like doodles when it was so much bigger. But also this was another one of those like, ooh, that might not be important, or that won't be important later situations where she keeps a journal. She also actively keeps a journal. She'll write her own things, or she'll, sketch. She is an artist, but she keeps it. It's very personal. It's very to herself. The times that she has shown her art to her family, they kind of shut on it. And so now she keeps it to herself. And when somebody found out that she had her own private journal, the immediate response was like, keep that away. Don't let anybody find that. So she's already like, that's suspicious. It's just a journal, but okay.
Mm-hmm. We have an attack that happens while we are at camp. A grizzard with red blood runs at everybody. The Guardian, he kills it as he does. We have training montages. We are back on the road. We are changing our plans. We're going to Tura instead, the city of tree houses. We're attacked on the road again. There's so much going on. But here we have a little bit more of lore drops because Odessa's alone. And she's really again, maybe my ladies' maids can be my friends. That would be so awesome. Like, Brielle, have you ever been in love? Let's just talk like girls, right? Have you ever been in love? Yeah, I love him. He broke my heart. Huh. Interesting. I didn't know that. I'm your lady's maid. Why would you know about my love life? Whoa, okay. Okay. All right. Good to know. Good to know.
I know, they straight up blockaded her with that. And obviously knowing what we know now, it makes sense. But then I was like, well, I guess that reason makes sense too, because Odessa had extended that conversation with any of her ladies' maids before too. So she took responsibility of that. You're like, oh, that is kind of on me. Why I never inquired. I never asked. She always took on that burden.
And there is nothing for Odessa to do once she is in her treehouse. The ladder's taken up every night because nobody trusts her, just as you said. And she's not going to go to the capital because nobody talks about it. Every time she's at this city for a while, a few weeks, and she's asking questions, and every time she brings up the capital, everybody is stopping talking about it. They're walking away, or they're being don't bring it up. It's being very weird. So much so that Odessa's maybe it doesn't exist. And it's a whole lie. What am I going to tell my dad then? That's going to be fucking crazy.
Well, and then even with her dad through all of this, he doesn't even though he's given her this to-do list of sorts, he has no faith in her for actually finding out any of this information. So when she does send a messenger back with information that she does eventually find out, but she kind of keeps to herself, she's like, and nobody would be surprised, except I get to control this narrative now.
Mm-hmm. Something that I want to point out here is that Odessa has a nightmare of a crux attack. The night that there is a lionwick prowling in the Treehouse City trio. And that attack is very similar to what happens at the end of the book. So just again, why? Why? We have no idea why. And then my notes say that it has been now 3 weeks since Odessa has left Quintus, and she is in a very small library, and she's like, okay, here's a book about Quintus, A Year in Quintus by Samuel Hayes. Traitors, thieves, liars, and the king killed his wife. This is the book that Odessa gets to read, and we get to confront the author later, which is very fun. But it is during this time that Xavier and the Guardian are in and out of town. They're in and out of hunts. Things are going on. News is not being shared. And Odessa's kind of just taking it all in. She's sketching, but not super a lot. She's just trying to learn a little bit of what is going on. And it's here where we have our first instance of Ramsay, our king, that arrives, and he burns the books. How do we feel about this?
This is the part where I think this is where I was like, oh, Ramsay's the actual bad guy. That he's the one we need to overthrow, even though she's married to the prince. So we got to get... This is where I'm like, Ramsay's the worst. I'm thinking Ramsay is the culprit of everything at this point in the book.
Yep, because like, who burns books, right? Crazy.
And why? What are you trying to hide? Mm-hmm. That is my thing where I'm like, and you're trying to keep your people from being educated, and, you know, you're banning the books, you're banning the education. What don't you want people to know?
And it's not just the library. They go through and they toss everybody's tree houses, everybody in town. They look for hiding places and they just take all of the books. But because, Jess, as you mentioned, Odessa was told to hide her sketchbook, it is hidden. And she basically gets like a good girl from the Guardian for hiding her books. It's like, okay, good job. I also want to point out the training session between Tilia and Odessa, where Tilia drops the, not kind of like not all monsters are the same. And like, if these type of monsters come into town, we trap and release them. But like some monsters we kill on sight, like kind of differentiating between just like the broad umbrella term of monsters and kind of giving them categories, which is important a little bit later, I thought.
And now that you're saying that, to go back to a point that you make, is the way the lore and more or less the world building of this doesn't feel overwhelming like it does in the first 5 chapters and the 6th chapter. Clearly, I was like, wait, what? Yeah, I know it's important, but I also know myself enough that if I hyper-focused on that, I was never going to keep reading the book. But the way the lore is shared in conversation, we've read books where you get like the male POV, I'll say in air quotes, and they're having conversations during their spicy time. And you're like, what if I didn't want to read the spicy part? Like, I didn't need to know all of this. Sometimes it makes sense and sometimes it doesn't. But here, all of the conversation, you're just absorbing more information, and it's building the characters and it's forming their relationship. And I think that's also important to like share. And I know we were talking about this book as a whole from like fantasy adventure and like, how do we categorize it? Because it doesn't feel romantasy. It's written as fantasy, but there's no magic component. But I don't know. We could keep having that conversation later if we want in the episode. But it is something that, like, all to say is the conversations are important because the lore is just a natural progression based on her trust that she's earning with the people that she's meeting.
Here's another chink in the lore. Tell me about Evangeline.
Evangeline. Papa. I was like, well, also at this point in the book, you're like, okay, so Evangeline's this little girl. And as we know at this point, she is the daughter of Xavier. And we're like, what is going on? What is like, okay. And even Odessa's like, okay, I'll even give it to him that he didn't want to tell me because I'm this outsider. I haven't earned his trust, but here's this little girl. She's 4. And now we know that this is like someone precious to them. And it was one of the first things they go, Evangeline, what did we say? And she's like, Savior, because she's having to be taught not to show who are the closest relationships that she has with and who are you significant towards. Because we come to find out that she is also a princess of Tura.
She's also a princess of Tura. Jess, could you have this awkward conversation with your husband, or would you just die? This awkward cheek kiss, I think I'd just die.
Oh, where she kisses him on the cheek, and she's like, I don't know why I did that. And it wasn't like a thought she had. She said it out loud. And you know what was more difficult about that situation is when he straight up told her that she wasn't pretty. In not so many words, she's like, that means, she asked him a question and she was like, he goes, you're a beautiful woman. And she's like, that's a no.
That's a no.
That's a no.
That's
I shouldn't be laughing, but it's like a gut punch. But again, this is feeding into her self-worth, her insecurities that have constantly been on repeat and being fed to her. So she's at this point where she's like, well, why wouldn't I think this about myself? This is all I have known, and this is all that's been around me in my entire life. And now it's happening externally outside of what I grew up in. So, I feel bad. And you know what? At the same time, she's trying to identify herself as a strong person. It's the whole reason why she was like, you know what? I'm always taught that I suck at everything. I couldn't even pick up a sword. They wanted me. They go, how about you break your shoes in? She goes, my first step to training is walking. Walking. But I knew her asking about the sword was going to be like a self-empowerment thing, and that winds up paying off. She's like, I need to be able to defend myself. And I feel like her gaining that helps her self-worth and what she's capable of later on in the book.
Well, and she says, I'm capable, let me help. And Odessa proves to be capable by sneaking out of the treehouse city. She needs to, just stretch her wings and fly. But she is more than a token to be traded.
Can I tell you, I thought she was going to be like, the scene where all the shit's happening? I thought she was about to sprout those wings.
Just go. I know, that would have been something.
Honestly, it would have been something, but it also, if that winds up panning out, I would be like, I don't know what it is yet. She's called, she's a monster magnet. Things are warm. She touches the Vesters. She burns. She has a necklace that warms, that is tied to the symbol that Luella has in one of the books. So, might not be far off. Something's clicking here.
Something's clicking. It is the chemistry in this in the one bed, but he stays on the floor
the whole time. It's okay. We get a one horse trope eventually.
We do get a one horse trope eventually, and this is my favorite part. My favorite little line in the book, Jess. We have a wolf attack that night. While Odessa sneaks into Ashmore and she meets the Guardian. He sees her because she's not that sneaky, and they stay in one room together. There is a wolf attack in Ashmore, and the Guardian is out there fighting. Odessa helps. There's a crossbow. She falls. It's like a whole thing, whatever. We learn about the one-eyed wolf and how that wolf is a little bit more intelligent than all the other wolves, and it's kind of going out, and the pack is very large. It's very weird. A lot of people die. Okay. The Guardian gets drunk to kind of deal with this, and he goes back to the room, and he starts calling Odessa Sparrow because he knows that it kind of bothers her because she is the sparrow. And she goes, why do you call me that? And he goes, because you're a bird. Full stop. Because you're a bird. Full stop. And she's like, what? And then he tells her about Lysa and everything that's going on. That sentence proves that he knows. So they talk about like the lying. He isn't telling her this. He knows. He knows that she's a bad liar. There's certain things that she is good about. But then at the end, now that you're saying, I have two questions for you. One's a question, one's a comment. Let me get to the comment first. The comment being when one of the Vesters grabs her, who is your mother? She's like, what the fuck are you talking about? She has no clue. But my second part is, did you pick up all of the references, the bird references, the being free, everything, the second reread or like the first time? Were you like, Or were you like, first time was like straight vibes? You weren't trying to pick up anything? First time was straight vibes. Second time, I was like, oh my God. Fuck. Just because, and again, it's easier the second time around, especially if you just like immediately start it again, because it's like super fresh and the ending is right with you. So you're like, oh, like, duh, okay. But all right, let's continue on. We can't stay in our tree house. We have to go to Elder. We're going to stay in Xavier's house. We're there for a fuck long time. And this is where we meet Luella and Evangeline. They live there too. We're doing our lessons. We're exploring. And this is where we have our dungeons. Luella and Catelyn. What are you doing giving that poor girl books? She's the last person that should be here. I've paid enough. All these little things that don't make any sense until we get to our reveal, our context later. Interesting.
And that's one thing that Odessa is always stumbling in on. Are people having conversations about her?
Yeah, it's like,
all the time.
Damn, because we also get a legend book here, a folklore book, and we have a little lore drop. Sora, she left and came back with monsters. That was crazy, but okay. All right. Just for reference, we're in chapter 34, just in case everybody's wondering where we are, because we're training. We're training constantly. We're asking for our horse. Odessa is feeling kind of like stuck. This is where Odessa really starts to have her first like big crisis of faith. She's like, I really admire the Turins. I don't know what's going on. The library under the dungeons is cleared out. They don't trust me, but I don't want my dad to come in and like fuck up these people. Like, these are good people. Like, what do I do? I haven't learned anything. What do I do? And this is her first like a little one, which I find interesting because it just grows and grows and grows until she's like, hey, you know what? I got to go confront the fuck out of my dad. And that is growth.
That is growth. And I think that everything she's just like, it comes down to her being like just a good person. Because like you said, she's asking herself, she's like, could I turn my back on my people? And, you know, when she's like considering them her people, this is also, let's remember where she's talking about how it was in Quintus and why she didn't have like a lot of female friends. She said she would isolate herself. She would keep to herself. She would stay away from like everything that was happening because her sister was like the forefront of everything. And then her brother was born. So he's obviously going to be the heir. So she turned inward. So she didn't even really have a community there. She was just kind of a possession because even when it came to the general, she was betrothed to Banner, just to keep allegiance and a loyal I say loyal in air quotes because we saw where that goes, close to the crown. So this is her time in Tura and with the Turins, it's her first time of having a sense of community and a sense of pride and people. Like, she connects more with these people than where she was raised. And I think that has also been like, this is so much bigger than my own relationships, which is why she's like, I couldn't do that. I would stand up against them. I'd stand up for them against my dad.
Let's talk about horses and one horse tropes because Odessa wants her horse, but it's in trio. Evie wants to get out of town. Her dad has gone on a hunt. So what do? Let's all strap ourselves onto a horse and let's go with the Guardian. And they go with the Guardian. And this is where our Guardian drops some fucking lore, right? Okay. This is some lore. So we learn about Lysa. Lysa is an infection and it is spreading. We have 3 hunting parties spread out about the kingdom and they are tracking and killing the monsters infected with them. What does it do? It makes them feral. Okay. This has been happening for about 4 years or so. The Voster are researching and they cannot come up with a cure. It seems to pass through bite. And hey, actually, I'm infected with Lysa and my cuff covers the scar. And my goal is to kill all of the monsters and then kill myself because I'm one of the monsters. And that is exactly what your dad wants. Right? And Odessa's like, what? What?
And we already know that through the course of these conversations, she even self-admits she's a terrible liar, and Ransom calls her out on it every single time. And at some point, she's learned to kind of, for the most part, drop the veil because he calls her out on it. And he does. But this is also the parts where she doesn't want to kill him anymore. And she doesn't want to turn on these people. So she's having that internal conflict of like, my people, like, who is my people? Where is my home? You know?
Well, and that's perfect, Jess, because this is also where she kind of gets into it with the Guardian, with Ransom a little bit. And she's like, well, shit, what is the king doing about this? We have to do something. Like, are you researching for a cure? We have to help these people. Like, why aren't there soldiers here? And he's looking at her and he's like, why do you care so much? She's like, we need to help. We need to help these people. Like, these are innocent people, you know, our people. And he's like, okay. All right. It's very queenly what you're doing. It's very queenly. Okay.
After she's already like denounced, like, I'm not a princess, I'm a nobody. And he's like, you're spitting a lot of game for like somebody who's saying that you don't think that you're royal or you don't have, you know, a bigger picture in mind.
Yeah. Because the next night there is an attack in Trio while they're on the way, but like also again. And Odessa ends up saving a bunch of kids. She's like very brave and saves a bunch of kids. And everyone is like, hey, you know, our opinions are changing about her. But Odessa's opinions are not changing about the Voster because she sees the Voster siphoning out the Lysa from the Guardian, from Ransom. And she's like, oh, fuck them. Like, they're doing evil, like, things or whatever. And they're weakening him. And, like, this is, and she is really stuck with that prejudice and really struggles with Ransom's, like, blind loyalty to them throughout the rest of the book. Yeah.
Fair. Like, I think I would be with Odessa with all of this, too. Like, the only comment, I only know so much about the Lysa, and I know so much about this infection, and 1 + 1 is not equaling 2. And you're going to tell me that they know about this, but you're not healing. And at the same time, he's saying they're kind of just prolonging this infection taking over, while at the same time, by siphoning, they hope to like make some sort of antidote for him, not just for him, but also for like all of these beasts that are out there killing. So she's very much like, that's still kind of sus, and you're weak. And she already has, which she hasn't shared with anybody yet, this relationship with them where she feels uncomfortable, that they burn her or she gets too close, because we don't really know 100% what their effects are until the Vestor from Quintus meets up with the Vestor from Tura, and they're together, and the Vestor from Quintus clocks her and goes to snatch her, and her arm is like sizzling, burning, or at least that's how it feels for her.
And also there's this emphasis that Lysa was created using alchemy and like not magic. And there's just like very adamant about that. And they say like, you know, there's the Coricum and the Pooh and the Munster and the Cave Ginger, all of this like stuff. It's alchemy. It's not magic. So again.
But we do know magic exists to an extent, because the Vestors have it, and they like when they're around the kids, they're like doing party tricks with the kids so they could be like oohed and awed about it.
Mm-hmm. Ransom, our crown prince, is very charmed when Odessa, think of me as the monster magnet. I'm capable. Please let me help save these people. Why did it look like Ransom had the weight of the kingdom on his shoulders and I was offering to share the load? Cause he's the crown prince, but we are not there yet. We have to go get a cat. We go get our monster cat and raise him as a pet. We love that. We love that. We also love going to Rivali and meeting the pony riders for gossip, being introduced as the future queen, and meeting Samuel Hay, our author.
I was going to say, who is our author of the book of Quintus, who is talking a ton of shit, including the person who spread the rumor that her father killed her mother.
Yep. So and she's like, hey, fuck you.
I loved it. And it's always after Ransom is like, just let me take the lead. Let me do all the talking. And she's like, whoops. Well, sorry.
Here's my first little issue with the writing. I'm going to say the sentence. Jess, you tell me why I would have an issue with it. I was just looking forward to crashing in bed. What's wrong with that?
I was looking forward to.
Why are you crashing? Why are you crashing?
Oh, like a bird crashes like that?
No,
or you're saying,
no.
Oh.
I mean modern day slang made it into the book. Into your fantasy book. I gotta crash.
But that's
I'm so
not
tired. I'm just gonna crash.
But that's not the first time it happens.
There's two instances where it's said in this book. No one else says it, just her. It bothers me.
I don't remember that one, the crashing, but I know that there's another one in the book where I was like, why does that feel weird? I didn't even put the second one together that it was because it was modern language, but it felt weird when I was reading it.
Yeah, can't wait to crash in an actual bed.
Ugh. What was the other one?
It's later, and she's talking about crashing in bed.
Oh.
It's just the same.
It's language.
It's the modern language. There's no other instances. It's just those two. It's just weird. Okay, whatever. We're in Rivali. It's our wooden, tree city sunken low city. And there's an inn. We have 2 rooms at the inn. Why do we have that? Because we have to meet Samuel Hayes. And we meet Samuel Hayes, and he tells us about the cave ginger candy and traveling really well and being like, my wife died, but we traveled all around, all of this stuff that, it's not important. It's not important. It's not important. It won't be important. Not at all.
And here's all this Quintus lore that I put in a book because my wife died and I needed a quick buck. That's really what it wound up being. But she got to know
rumors.
More. Yeah, it was based on rumors. But it was also, I think, the first time that she had somebody she can speak to Quintus about this. About someone to speak about Quintus too.
And he tells her that, like, hey, in Tura, this is where we learn maps are forbidden. They're punished by death. And for all intents and purposes, Paris serves as the functional trade capital, right? Like that is just what it is. Alessandra is not on any maps. You're not going to find it because they're all illegal. Don't go looking for it. And hey, by the way, I still want to dig into the militia. That's still interesting, but I'm going to let it go. Ramsay arrives here and burns down Samuel Hayes's newspaper printing press and the libraries here. You've got such pretty hair. No wonder you caught my son's eye. But I had brown hair when I saw Xavier.
Which, this is the second encounter we have with Ramsay, but it's Ramsay's first encounter with Odessa because the first time we meet Ramsay, the Guardian hid her. He was like, they do have a back and forth bickering for a large portion of the book until Odessa really starts to understand that when he is like, I need you to fucking listen to me. And she's like, oh, it's because of my safety. And that's really important to him and Xavier. Then she starts listening. So that's why she hid the first time with Ramsay. And she was kind of understanding his power that he has over people. But this was the second time she's seen him, but first time meeting him, and also trying to understand you have 1 month. And I initially thought when I read that it was because he's saying, oh, BT dubs, Odessa's supposed to be in Alisaria. So then when he said you have 1 month, I read that as you have a month to get her ass to this city.
I read it as that as well. Both of you are due in the city in 1 month. We got shit to do. You're required. That's what I was thinking as well. Because he says you should be there. And he says she's not going to go there until I trust her. And the king is like, fuck it. You have a month. I don't care. You have a month. Because he's like, she's not, that is a private city. Because also this whole time we're in Odessa's mind and she's trying to calculate where things are, how many kilometers, how many feet. Even when she was going down to a dungeon one point, she starts counting stairs to know how far down she's going. So she's still trying to map things out in her head. A little bit less at this point, but all the way up until this book, she's still kind of building out her maps. Yep. And we have to do that because we have to leave. We have to leave this town and go back to Elder, and we do that, and we go back to Elder, and we have more time. And what do? We learn that Odessa figures out that the cuff that Ransom is wearing also serves as a map, so she is clocking that. And this is where he also answers questions. He was like, look, I was bitten. I was hunting. It was the one-eyed wolf. The one-eyed wolf is going around and infecting others. The equinox in Alessandria, we've got to go there. Like, you're trying to force me. No, dude, it's just what we have to do. Hey, BT Dubs, Banner's brother was selling girls. And that's why I was bitten in the first place, because I was trying to stop all of this, and I ended up killing him. And hey, he's a piece of shit, right? He's a piece of shit. And Ransom has almost told Odessa who he is at least 3 times by now. And this is like the 3rd time where he's like, we should talk. But this, Jessica Marie, is when they get back to Elder, Odessa and Ransom. And they're like, okay, peace. And Odessa's like, I'm going to go see my ladies' maids. I haven't seen them in a long time. And what does she walk into?
She is wanting her girl time. And she's like, okay, I'm going to go see them, only to see Jocelyn with... She's like, oh, Jocelyn's with somebody. And it winds up being Xavier. So now she is distraught because, everybody's like, oh my God, like you've seen me. And she's like, oh, I'm so fucking done with everybody because this whole time this marriage hasn't been consummated is not because of me. He hasn't had to get laid because he's been fucking my lady's maid, Jocelyn.
Unbelievable bullshit. Oh my God.
And they see her and they're like,
and I like it too, where Odessa's internal monologue is just like, you know what? I'm done.
I loved that.
I'm done.
Like this day.
Yep.
But you know what? So she's like, fuck it all. I'm going back to my room. Who's waiting at her room but the Guardian? And he's like, whoa. He was waiting for her because he was like, you know what? I was kind of like, maybe we left each other a little miffed. But this was, and he was, you could tell he was like just standing there at her doorway, gonna apologize and be a little be a little smart, and they could have their banter until he realizes that she's really upset. And all Xavier's like, sorry, Ransom.
My bad, bro. The cat's out of the bag.
That's literally what he said. He was like, my bad. And so,
which is crazy, because then we get Ransom just like confessing everything, which we love when a man confesses. Oh my God. Okay, so what does he say?
You've been mine since since I first saw you, when I saw you on the cliffs. And she's just like so confused. She's like, wait. What's going on? So y'all been lying to me, which was also kind of funny because you've also been lying to them, but it's,
this whole time.
This whole time, but okay. But it's the unraveling. And then it's like also her description of like, now she's crying, but she can't explain why. It's like when when you just like, you're flooded with everything. She's like, she's like, it's not even because it's Jocelyn. It's because it wasn't me. And then this whole time I thought that Xavier, this was about to be a lavender marriage. I know I told you that, Laura. But she's like, but now I'm like, I'm angry, but I'm also angry at myself, but I'm also relieved because I felt so guilty that I was married and I was starting to fall for the Guardian, but now I get to be like, fuck it. But then I'm also frustrated because it's like, why was I upset this whole time? It's just like, girl was going through it all at once. And, she wanted girlhood. There's part of girlhood, just crying over everything. And at the same time, Ransom's confessing everything to her, and she can't even look at him. And she's like, if I look, I'm going to break even more. And I don't think I have it in me.
Because he walks her through the wedding ceremony and makes her realize that she's actually married to him and that he's actually the crown prince.
Which is a fucking trip, because I had to rewind that part.
You're like, whoa. And he says, like, you've always been my queen. And she's like, he's always said, you know, my queen, my queen, my queen. He's like, why did you do this? Why me? And he goes, well, I saw you and I saw that you were suffocating in that kingdom and I wanted to set you free. I am going to die soon. And when I die, your contractual obligations will be fulfilled and you will be free and be done with all of these men trying to control you. I'm doing this for you. And she is like, Odessa is like, oh, that's a great answer, but I'm still so mad at you.
Again, fair. There are so many things that Odessa says where I'm like, you are not wrong. I'm with you every step of the way.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So he tells her who he is and he ends up leaving. Jocelyn comes the next morning and is like crying and apologizing. And Odessa's better than me because I would have double slapped the hell out of her. But she's just like, you know what? You can't stay here. Fuck off.
Well, and this is where I feel like this is very queenly of Odessa. She's like, I need to still get a message. So I'm going to utilize you for my benefit. And on top of this also, even if we're totally cool as a queen, as a princess, I can't let you stay here. There were so many eyes that saw what happened. You were fucking my husband because also at this point, all the outsiders know that Odessa is married to Xavier, who is to them the prince. So she can't have her ladies' maids still hang around like there's no consequences to her actions. So this is where I still am like, you know what? Good on you, Odessa. And now you're still being a better person because you don't really give a fuck about Xavier, but optics wise, you're using it to your advantage. And she was also thinking about what Jocelyn said earlier about like missing her family. So, and like keeping her promise. So she was right on all points. I was like, oh, Odessa. Like, yes, to you where you're like, I would have slapped her, but then you would have done like all this other stuff too.
Oh yeah.
Thinking bigger picture,
After.
which is what Odessa, which is, and also like, she didn't also care about slapping her because she got what she wanted in the end, which was like finding out that she doesn't have to feel guilty about her feelings.
This is very true. But she does have to have an anger training session with Ransom where he reveals, like, you know, Xavier's real name is Dre and he's been with me since, you know, we were 13. He's my double. Like, your dad, Odessa, is desperate to get into this city. Like, but you are mine. And we have a very passionate kiss. And Odessa's like, wow, that's very passionate. I'm going to run away. And she runs away. And a week later, we have a map. We have a map. We go to Samuel, like, hey, Samuel, can you help me with this map? And he's like, I don't really want to, but sure, I guess, fine. Okay. And then we get lore drops. Just more lore drops, right? Hey, the priest took a year to siphon this Lysa out of me because they had to attune to it. Lysa is like bonded to me. We can't separate it from myself. Whatever. Also, Evie is my sister. Evie's my sister, and my mom is in hiding because my mother was almost killed by my father when my father found her in bed with another man, and he has become very bitter and a shell of himself. And he says a line later that is just like really good. Ramsey does. But this is where our thoughts are. If we kill all of the priests, then all of the blood oaths will end. And then it's like, oh, okay, well, where are all the priests? We have no idea where their homeland is. Where could that be? Oh, shit. Maybe the secret city. Maybe the secret city that everybody is blood oathed to not talk about. Maybe that is the homeland of the priests. Shit. Okay. What do we do about that? Not much. Not much. Because there's another attack. And another week later, we have a finished map. Like, there's just like not.
And through all of this, Odessa won't drop the fact that she still is like, the priests are involved, the Vesters are involved. They are involved with the Lysa. They are involved. Because she's also, up until this point, has this huge hunch that yes, there's this infection. Yes, it's in these beasts, but also I think the infection is like man-made. I think it was produced through alchemy and put into these animals. Like this was always supposed to be the result. And Ransom is kind of in denial about her speculations a lot of the times because he's like, you need to give it a rest. And she's like, I can't with your blind loyalty.
She is incorrect as far as we know, though, which is another like part of this too, which just makes it worse, honestly.
Well, and even as the reader, I was like, I told you, I was like, Ramsay and the priest are involved. Ramsay and the priest are involved. The entire time, I was like, I'm going with her gut. Because I think, again, our gut would be saying the same thing. We'd be like, but this is weird. We might not know, but we would definitely be like, there's something off about all of this.
Something off about all of this. Something off about the two men from Trio that weren't bitten, but they're unconscious. And they show up with Tilia and Halston, who's pregnant, and they're just going to hang out in town. They're just going to hang out in town. We're not going to worry about them. This is the backslide of the book. We are almost done here. This is also the moment, Jess, where you mentioned where the high priest grabs Odessa and says, did you know? I thought she was just frightened. Who is your mother? This is where we have the confession of the Voster pain. It hurts me, only me. Evie ran away during this time as well, and Catelyn found her on the road. Luella and Catelyn have to talk. They have to have a secret conference. Very important. We also have to fuck. We fuck in this book, and we fuck here, and it's nice. It's nice.
Yeah, it's sweet. I love their moments together. But it's also like fade to blackish too. We get some of the intimate things, and then she also even says, like, you know what, it's just been like a ton of sweet nothings, and we've been secluded to the bedroom for 2 weeks.
Yep.
So we got another timeline. We get more timeline.
More timeline. We're reading books about folklore. We're learning about migration's past and a man named Sonnet who spoke to the Crux, and the Crux left him alone. Interesting. Ransom and Xavier and the hunters go out to hunt more monsters, and the men wake up. One of the men wake up and attack Odessa, and he starts screaming. One of the men that, were just brought into town to heal. He starts screaming, I must serve the king. I feel like I'm melting inside. I have to kill her. Make it stop. It hurts. Odessa slices his throat and kills him. And here is where Luella comforts Odessa like a mother.
Well, I mean, and she passes out more or less because she kills him because he's choking her out. And she's like, I can't even scream for anybody to hear me, because she does try. And that's why she kills him. Now, this is after a conversation that she's already had with Ransom saying, like, I don't know if I can kill. But at the same time, she's made a promise to Ransom that if he ever turned feral like that, she would kill him. So then when she's being taken care of and doted on after passing out and being choked out, she's like, these eyes are familiar. This is weird. Wait, I know that hair. And she makes the connection that Luella is Evangeline and Ransom's mother. And, his mom's like, he told you? And she's like, no, you just confirmed it. I just kind of guessed because y'all look alike. And I've been doing nothing but looking at him in the eyes for the last 2 weeks in our bed.
Well, and here's where everything starts to get fucking wild. Okay. So we have just like, Ransom is like, yes, I've killed somebody. I killed Xavier's stepfather. He tried to kill me to make Xavier prince. We're reading books about caves and flowers and cave ginger and Catelyn. And this is very interesting. And it's been 2 weeks. And then Xavier drops us some news like that man was infected with Lysa. That man had no bite marks. That man had an injection site. Catelyn can't really talk about what is going on about Lysa because she has taken a blood oath. And then here comes Luella around the corner. And from here on out, it is nothing but reveals, actions, and death. So just take us through this first reveal about Luella and what she did.
So Luella, in her, before she had Ransom, or between she had Ransom, she loved playing chemist. She loved playing with science. She toyed around with alchemy. And she basically was trying to create a Lysa because here's the thing about Lysa. It did exist to an extent, but also wanted to find a cure. But ultimately she injected Ransom with it. And then Ransom following the injection, Ransom unintentionally was bitten by one of the monsters who also had Lysa. So it's turned him, that combination has essentially turned him into this super soldier. He's the Guardian. He moves really fast. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Chop, chop, chop. Kill, kill, kill. He is a one-man Guardian power machine. So what we flash forward to the future is Ramsay understands, well, all he knows of the connection is, well, if you are bitten by something that has Lysa, you'll become the super soldier. And so now the thought is, well, let's get the blood from the infected Lysa monsters and inject the Lysa into other humans so we can make more super soldiers. But what Ramsay doesn't know, and anybody doesn't know, is that the Guardian, his mother had injected him with something first. So the catalyst to make him into a super soldier is the monster injection bite after. So that is the first reveal. So now he, as in Ransom, is carrying all this guilt that he's like, wait, so every single death is because of me, because you're trying to make me, because I am patient zero and nothing has been replicated since. But also, what the fuck, Mom? You did this whole time? Wait a second. Is this why Dad came to come to you? Did he come to you because he knew you had injected me? Or did he come to you because he found out about the affair? Like, everybody's world, specifically Ransom's at this point, is getting turned upside down, has no idea, is trying to understand the sequence of events. And meanwhile, all of this time, Ransom, when we flash back to when his dad was like, I need to see you in 30 days. That was the first time he saw his father in 4 years because his mother, he hasn't seen, because he found out what his dad did. He pulverized the guy that his mom was fucking when they found him. And she was also pregnant, and he tried choking out her mom. And she was pregnant with his little sister. So he's like, I want to keep my sister safe. I want to keep my mom safe. I'm not going to talk to my dad at all. So now he's like, I don't think Dad should have handled it like that, but have I been kind of a shitty son because of something you did?
Because it's something that you did to me without any consent. Because she was basically like Taylor making a strength enhancing elixir. She took all of the like specific aspects of monsters that she liked and put them into an elixir and gave it to him, saying that like monsters don't know how to use their magic, but Vosters do know how to use their magic. But what I'm doing isn't magic, it's science. Okay. Well, that's why Ramsay's burning all of the books, because he's looking for all of the notes and things that I used to put, and he doesn't want any of this information getting out. He wants to keep this all contained. Okay. All right, fine. Let's talk some more. There's a hidden book in a hidden stairwell, little nook and cranny that has the bird emblem on it that Odessa is going to get in a little bit. We learn that Ransom, through the blood oath, cannot ask soldiers to fight in a civil war, turn against the king. He cannot do that. Odessa decides that she needs to go confront her father about all of this bullshit, right? She also confesses to Ransom that she's a spy, and he's like, okay. Good job. Good job. We knew that.
He's like, tell me something I didn't know.
Yeah, we know that. He's like, all right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my mom to the capital. She wants to go. You stay here, Odessa, and watch Evie, okay? And everyone's like, yeah, bet. And then the king shows up. And then Banner shows up with the king. What? And then Briella's like, husband, fiancé.
The fuck? When people started showing up, I was like, wait, why is Banner there? Did Banner turn, like, did he turn coats? Like, what is going on? And then it's like, oh my gosh, Banner didn't see me off to Tura. He was seeing Brielle off. Brielle is the other woman that he was fucking. And she's like, I didn't even give a shit that, I was like, I get it. Like, people have lovers all the time. I knew it was some rando in town. Basically. And it turns out it was Brielle. And she's like, oh my God, you came for me. And she's like, what is happening? But this is when everything starts. She was like, how does Brielle know? Brielle wouldn't know, what information? And then she was like, oh my God, Jocelyn fed them all this information. And that's why they're here. And Jocelyn fucking shows up too.
Jocelyn shows up in warrior braids with a sword. That would have pissed me off.
Oh, that would have pissed me off. Oh. Like, she's undercover the whole time. But Ramsay drops a very important sentence. Ramsay says, hey, the Crux scout was spotted 2 days ago. So the migration that we thought we had time for is happening now. So let's go. Everybody to the castle. Let's go. And he's been going through, and at this point, Ramsay has going through all the towns. Cause at first Ransom's like, oh my God, they have this huge militia. It's not that big of a deal, but I can't hide you. Don't let them in. Cause now he's thinking they're just basically under attack by Ramsay and the soldiers, but it's just so much more. It's so much bigger than that because they want to bring them to, Alisaria to be protected because nobody knows where it is. That's all it is. It's like, let's protect our city. Let's protect our town.
From the Crux, which attack right fucking now. In the middle of this, the king is there. Luella's being dragged out. There's drama. Everybody's yelling, fiance, and then whoosh.
Crazy. It's happening so fast because even though we literally just found out all of this lore just between Ramsay and Luella, their past, he still cares about her because he was trying to protect her. I was like, oh my God, this is drama. This is the part where you're like, I know that they have rights. I worry how this is going to be portrayed on scene because fantasy can be done so dirty and sometimes you just don't need it on screen. You could want it on screen. You could see it on screen, but that doesn't mean it'll translate on scene. And I feel like this is one of those cases unless, we luck out the way it is with, why can't I think of it? Something of the Dragon.
House of the Dragon, thank you. Where you have Vagar and Rhaenyra and war is happening. Shit is happening. Because when we talk, I know it's something we talk about a lot on the podcast is, and Laura especially, you love when the thing happens. And holy shit, are things happening? And one of the things we say on the podcast is no head, not dead. Heads are off. Limbs are flown, bodies cut in half. I mean, people are they're in such distraught of the loss of their loved ones that they're trying to delusionally put the decapitated heads and body and limbs back onto their loved ones' bodies. Shit is happening and there's no explanation. It is utter massacre and chaos and it's happening so fast at this part of the book. Yep. Jocelyn's killed. Halston's get his leg, cut clean off. Luella is killed, torn in half, right? Xavier is, cut through the gut by Banner, who's fighting with Odessa because he is just in a rage because he finds out that the Guardian is actually Ramses' son and that's who killed his brother. It's this whole thing. So what does Odessa do? Odessa gets free of Banner and she runs and she gets Evie. She gets the secret books out of Luella's bedroom because, of course, why didn't you just, okay, whatever. You get the books now and you're running. You go to Ransom. He gives you his cuff. He says, you know what this is? I love you. Yes, you do. Don't forget. Go to Trio, wait for me 3 days, and then go to your father, right? If you're not there, okay. But she goes, she's in the tunnels, and there's a priest. There's a priest with the horse, and he says, come with me, my child. And she's like, well, fuck, I guess I will. And then we have Ransom's POV. This is the end of the book. Jess, take us through Ransom's POV.
I feel like it happens so fast because Ransom's POV, you basically find out that Crux are human. And I'm still trying to wrap my head around how that happened. Like, I don't know. I don't know if I just like glazed over it because we don't know as the reader.
Nope.
And that's why I'm like, you start thinking like, how is this picked up? Which also, with all of the bird and wing and this, that, the other symbolism, what's this mean about Odessa?
Yeah, because the woman who is... So Ransom was picked up by a Crux and they fought in the air and he rammed his sword through her heart and then they both fell to the earth. And when he woke up, he expected to see a big eagle-like creature there with him. And it was a woman with the same hair colors as Odessa. And he was like, has this ever happened before? And everyone's like, no, every time we've killed them, they've only been animals. So it's like, well, what's that? What's that about? And then the book ends. Worth noting, Xavier is still alive, but he is not doing well.
No, but I feel like we're going to get him.
Yeah.
Because I don't think that would just be left there but for all Odessa and Evie know, he was dead when they left him.
Yeah.
He was dead and they had to get to cover because Odessa made a promise because at this point the Crux are coming. Ransom is like, I need you to hide. I need you to hide and protect my sister. I'm trusting you with my life. And she's like, and she had at the same time, prior to this promise she was about to make him, she had her own plan. She's like, I got to go back home. I'm going to tell my dad a bunch of shit. And I'm going to say like, shut up. I need you. We need to band together because we need an army. Crux is coming. And here's all the truth. And I'm the princess. I'm the queen of this realm. We got to keep going. So she had this whole plan. She was going to leave everybody because nobody was going to know she was gone because the people like Xavier and Telia and Ransom were going to leave until Ransom asks her to make this promise. So like, talk about someone who's willing to be adaptable and switch on a dime. That is Odessa. But this is the end of the book. Would you recommend it? Did you like it? What was your favorite part?
Great questions. Would I recommend it? Yes, with an asterisk. I would not. I would recommend this to somebody who is looking for monsters, looking for something a little bit grittier, who knows that it's an enemies to lovers kind of situation, that knows that magic is not huge in this first book, not knowing, of course, nobody knows where the rest of the series is going to go. I would recommend this more if you're looking for like an action romance kind of situation. Yes, I do like it. Your last question, my favorite part, because you are a bird.
Did you just feel very validated in all your speculations up until that point because you are a bird?
No, because I read that and I was like, oh, you little fucker. You know. Not only do you know. What are you doing? Like, so yeah, I just really enjoyed it too, because again, I do like a male main character who knows more than he lets on and has just like kind of schemes and plots just a little bit. And while he does pledge to be honest, like everybody's got secrets. I like that.
Yeah, it was really fun. I think I would recommend, I wouldn't say that this is a good beginner fantasy book. But I think you also, like, if you're looking for spice, like, here's the thing. Is there romance? Yes. Is there banter? Yes. Enemies to lovers? Yes. But when we talk about plot with romance and romance with plot, this is plot. I think people should like take away any notion. And granted, I get from like a marketing standpoint, Romantasy is what is selling currently. So I understand if that is where the shift is going. But even though there is romance, this isn't, I don't think, a romantasy book. I think it's a fantasy book in a way, definitely adventure. And magic wise, we only have currently, to our awareness, it's only the priests who have the magic. It's only the priests/besters are the only ones with magic, because everything else is explained through alchemy and science. So if you like politics, this is a fun book. It's a fun politic book for beginners, I think, in a way. That's not YA, because it doesn't feel dumped on you.
Also worth pointing out that it is lumped in to a social media conversation because it shares the same release date as another book. And that, again, is something that is like very easy to latch onto and like kind of lump them together. But like, I think each to their own and each thing individually should be appreciated. And like, this is very fun. And I don't think it deserves to be lumped into a conversation about shitty books. This was super fun. I have almost no complaints. I really enjoyed it. I am a little hesitant to see it turned onto screen. But again, the ease at which some authors can get things sold and compared to other authors is its own conversation. And I think maybe that should be part of a little episode. Maybe we do a little bit on down the line.
Yeah, I love it. But with that being said, feel free to follow us on Instagram. We're at ACOFAE Podcast. We're also both on TikTok, ACOFAE Laura and ACOFAE Jessica, and we're on YouTube. We have all of our socials. Feel free to follow us. And we'll talk to y'all soon. Thanks. Bye.
Bye.